The Counterpoint game. Cantus Firmus Part 2. Tempo, direction, conjunct versus disjunct, skips and leaps. As suggested by musicologist Peter Schubert, book referenced in the description, whole notes mark the downbeats of the Cantus Firmus. In our counterpoint exercises, whole notes represent the basic pulse. In this game, the whole notes move along at 60 to 80 beats per minute. Don't forget, each whole note of the Cantus Firmus represents a downbeat, regardless of how many there are in a bar. In fact, there may not be any bar lines at all. Eventually, counterpoint lines of shorter note values will be added and synchronized to the whole notes of the Cantus Firmus. For example, every Cantus Firmus has a high point, an unrepeated climax. That single highest tone functions both as a goal to ascend to and the start of a descending curve back to the tonic. And by the way, the answer to the previous multiple choice question is C11. The current example features mostly conjunct motion, which means stepwise motion. In this Cantus Firmus, there are 2 skips and a single leap of a perfect fourth. The rest of the line walks along on adjacent scale degrees. For the instructional purpose of this course, we define a skip as a diatonic third, skipping over 1 scale tone, and a leap as a diatonic fourth or larger, because of the leap over 2 or more scale degrees. In themselves, leaps and skips are not bad. In fact, a totally conjunct line, i.e. stepwise line, gets boring pretty quick. The addition of 1 or more leaps and/or skips raises the melodic interest quotient. However, if there are too many leaps, each tone becomes an island unto itself. In this line, there is little horizontal continuity. Too much spice, too much disjunctive motion is not useful for a cantus, which literally means song. It follows that smaller intervals are less disruptive to song flow than large intervals. After a step or a diatonic skip of a third, it is okay for the line to keep going in the same direction, as does this Cantus Firmus after the first skip of a third. Following a leap of a fourth, it is more advisable to reverse direction, but as can be seen in this Cantus Firmus, the top line, a continuation in either direction is still feasible if by a diatonic step or no larger than a skip of a diatonic third. Leaps larger than a fourth tend to disrupt song flow, even when restricted to the acceptable intervals. A line containing 3 or more large leaps, perfect fifths, sixths, or octaves, is not usually acceptable. This otherwise interesting line won't work well as a Cantus Firmus due to the many large leaps. Leaps of a fifth, sixth, or octave. It is best to change direction after a large leap, then continue in that reverse direction by steps or skips, i.e. by a diatonic second or third. In bars 7 to 9 of the Cantus Firmus line, notice the change of direction just after a leap of a perfect fifth. From 2 to 4 leaps are allowed in a Cantus Firmus of 8 to 16 tones. Never leap 3 times in a row. Never leap twice in the same direction. A change of direction should follow a leap of a fourth. After large leaps, a fifth or more, the change of direction ought to be stepwise. And now you may try your hand at creating a couple of Cantus Firmi, 8 or more bars in length, but no more than 16 bars each. You are welcome to refine the Cantus Firmus you experimented with after our last talk. Use pencil and the clef and tonic key of your choice. For reference, here is a summary of the Counterpoint game rules we have learned so far. Feel free to take a picture. Looking forward to seeing and hearing your work. Thank you for watching.